Good afternoon, viewers. This is Rebecca from Ripple Effects Canada, and we are glad to have you on board with us this afternoon. We have Nancy behind screen here, back screen, getting ready to come on deck. And I know, like myself, many of you probably that are watching, maybe you don't know a lot about the details of the lobster industry. So we wanted to make this also approach a large audience, a broader audience, so that they can really see what happens between lobster fishing and actually getting to a plate. So anyway, we're going to pop up a little video here. It's a short one. Watch it, and we'll be right on shortly after with Nancy Wadden from MFU. She's the treasurer and also fishes in Local 6. So here we go. Thank you for watching, and please feel free to share the video, tag people, and also start a watch party if you belong to another group. Thank you for watching.
The region is a world leader in its ability to identify and track all stages of the harvesting, production, processing, and...
All right, we're going to do a sound check. Some of our viewers, thankfully, are putting up some posts that they can't hear us right now. Nancy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. I think it's just the video that I was showing at the outset. It may be, I may not be able to share it because it was done from another company. It was a good video, and thank you, viewers. Let us know if you can hear us now in the comments. I know the last one I see is Mary Capstick. If you guys can put in the comments if you can hear us now, we'd be really grateful. So we'll just give it a moment here, Nancy, and make sure that our viewers can hear us. Oh, awesome, Lori Forrest. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, very much, because I can hear it clearly from my end, but apparently that sound wasn't coming through. So, Nancy, thank you very much for coming on at last minute today. We know that this is Easter weekend for a lot of families. We want to thank our viewers that are watching as well. Where do we begin? I thought it'd be great to just ask Nancy a little bit about her background. She's in Cape Breton. She's working in Local 6. Now, Nancy, I'm going to shoot straight from the hip. I do not know a lot about the lobster industry. And do you know why? One reason is because as a mom, a single mom of 5, might I say, when I go out grocery shopping, lobster is not typically on my grocery list. You know, your regular meats are, but lobster is a luxury to myself and my kids. And so once in a blue moon, if we get to have some, we are super pumped. But so therefore, I haven't spent a lot of time understanding the industry, but in the last couple hours, the last few days, I've been inundated and learned very quickly what actually takes place from the work that you do to the plate. So I have you on today, and Nancy, tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from, and then we'll go into some concerns that are definitely a trending topic right now in the fishing industry.
I fish at a Port Morion, and I'm a fourth generation fisher. It was my uncle's rig, and I was living away, and I decided I wanted to come home. So home I came, I went fishing, and I've been there ever since. And that was 20 some odd years ago. But my family, my dad fished, my grandfather fished, both my uncles fish, and one uncle is still fishing.
Excellent.
So we don't fish together, but we're kind of we work together all the time.
Excellent. I'm just going to keep my eye here on the comments, Nancy. Of course, with live, there's always a few technical difficulties. I haven't experienced this before. How do we get sound? I just want to make sure with our viewers that we have sound before we go any further. So if you guys can throw up, so I'm going to look at my phone too and see if you guys can hear us. Throw up some thumbs, April and Chris Lemon. If you guys can just throw up some thumbs, that'd be great. Because this is, does everyone have sound? Chris Lemon. Yeah, I have sound on my end. Okay, excellent. Josephine Kennedy wrote, she says, have sound. So it might just take a moment, viewers, for it to buffer. Oh, there we go. There come the thumbs. I'm getting tons of thumbs up that they can hear us. So great, Nancy. We're good to go. Thank you, Josephine. All right. So the background, Port Morion, Local 6, treasurer of MFU. Thank you, Terry Butts. Let's go, Nancy, start us off with the concerns right now that are trending with fishermen, and maybe lead us into that.
I'd have to say the biggest concern right now with almost every fisherman that I know is it's not that we don't want to fish. Any fisherman that you talk to is going to tell you they want to go fishing, but there's just so many ifs and possibilities out there that are the unforeseen that we don't know. Nobody wants to get sick. Nobody wants to jeopardize any of their crew getting sick. Nobody wants anyone in a plant or on the wharf to get sick. And we can't fish a product that there is no market for. And right now, there's no market for our product. Our product, as you stated, it's a luxury product. It's not an everyday plate item that people have at their dinner table every day. It's luxury. And we've worked hard to make it a luxury product. Yeah. I don't know, the government all of a sudden has deemed us essential, that lobster is an essential protein. I don't know why it has been deemed an essential protein. I'd like to ask her why it has been, because for the life of me, I can't understand that. And I don't think any fisherman out there can.
Well, you know what, I have to agree with you, Nancy. Like I said, it's not something I can afford on a daily basis. You know, it's something that definitely I think most Canadians consider a treat, right? It's a luxury item, especially we're in the tourism industry here in Cape Breton Island. So we have a pulse on, you know, the driving force of coming here and seeing the beautiful island. What do people want to do? They want to try, eat lobster. So that being said, you mentioned a key word there, safety. Now, I watched that video that I was showing at the outset, and it was just basically more or less a generic video for viewers of how lobster gets to plate. And I couldn't help but notice there's a lot more hands involved in the processing. And in you know, it's not just a matter of it being shipped off the boat. And do you mind going into that? Like you're on the boat, you haul in. I mean, we live right in front of a cove. So the boats come in about 200 feet from our back deck. They haul, and then what happens? Where does it go from there?
Well, once you haul it, then you land your lobster. You deal with it in the boat. Of course, we have 275 traps, so you do that 275 times a day, and you hope for the best. Sometimes it's not the best, but you hope for it. And when you get in, it has to come off the boat at the plant. The buyer has to buy it. Then the buyers more than likely are going to go through it. Then they hold it and it gets shipped, and it's either goes to live market or it gets processed. Most of our lobster is live market, and that's what's hurting us the most right now. Our lobster is a live market product, and it can only be held for so long. It doesn't have, it can't sit for a year. It's a live product.
So there's a lot of people. Is it correct to say that there's a lot of people involved in this? I mean, there's a lot of people. Whoever thought, I mean, none of us were expecting anything like this to hit, the globe. And here we are in different departments, with frontline workers, essential workers, lobster fishermen, we're all in different areas. There's a lot of people, there's the workers, there's the buyers, there's a lot of people involved in this. Now, in that process, can you educate me on what happens if, let's say, you guys head out on the water? Because I'm used to seeing the buzz and momentum by this time. I love taking the kids down. You can feel the excitement in the air. The fishermen are down there. They're getting the traps ready. That's happening right now as we speak in our area, Ilmadam. What happens if you guys head into this season and then they say, let's halt everything? And you've already gone into it even a week's worth. What happens from there?
That's a loaded question, is it? Because we don't know. That we don't have any answers, and that's what we're looking for. What does happen if we go and we fish for a week or two and there's no market? What do we do then? There's nothing in place to give us any guarantee that we will have some kind of an income for the coming year. And it's not just the license holders. It's the crew members. It's the plant workers. It's the processors. It's not just that one individual times however many licenses it is. There's a lot of other people that are affected by this. And what happens if a boat goes fishing, and God above, I hope it never happens, but what if someone gets sick on the boat? Does that mean the whole wharf can't go? I don't know. But if that boat gets sick, all crew members on it are quarantined 14 days. Well, their gear is in the water. It's not allowed to be in the water any longer than 72 hours without being tended. Nobody else is allowed to tend your gear except for the license that's attached to that gear. So what happens in that case? There's a lot of unforeseens that we just don't know.
So to our viewers watching right now, you're more than welcome. If there's reasonable and relevant comments pertaining to the conversation, we both decided at the outset we weren't going to get into, the logistics of what fishermen are asking for, but we would rather stick to the concerns, right now, what's going on. So if you have anything that you want to say in the comments, please feel free to do so. I'm just going to kind of view our comments here from everyone. We have Shannon McLeod just saying hi here from, where?
Another more United.
Where is that? Oh, another,
she's from where I'm from.
Never mind. I get it. Josephine Kennedy. Now I know Josephine, where are we here? Josephine says, let's read Josephine's comment. She says, there are the questions we need to answer. The lobster is handled many times before it lands on a consumer plate. Nancy, and then she said, well said, Nancy. So what are some other things we spoke about before this, Nancy, that we wanted to get out to the viewers today and just kind of get some engagement going on this topic? Because we're hoping that with the shares of this, all we're looking for is a platform for voice so that the concerns are out there, and hopefully somebody who has some help, can be of assistance. But what do you want to get out there to the viewers? Our member of parliament isn't with us today. That's tomorrow. But I do have a question for him, because he has, to me, there's a big disconnect, because he says that the western side of the northern side of the island does not wish to go fishing, but the eastern side does. I don't know what fishermen he's been talking to, because the majority of the fishermen, it's not that I should reword that, because it's not that they don't want to go fishing. It's just that the circumstances, we don't see it as allowing us to go fishing this year.
So
Right.
I don't know why he thinks that most of the eastern side of the island wants to go, because from what I'm being told and from what I'm hearing, that's not the case.
Okay.
But the government says they're not forcing anyone to go to work, and they're telling you that safety is first, and it's your decision to go fishing if you want to go fishing or you don't. But what do you do if you don't go fishing? They're basically forcing us to have to go fishing when it's not going to be feasible, health-wise, safety-wise, or probably monetarily wise. And what is it going to do to our industry? We worked hard to build our industry to where it is, and we don't want to drag it back down.
And we're also on a delicate, I shouldn't say we, I just am saying, meaning part of this conversation. You're on a delicate timeline right now, I would assume.
We are. There's one boat in my harbor right now. Usually my harbor is over half full. There's 32 boats in Moraine Harbor. There's one, and it went in yesterday. There's just there's no that energy that you spoke of, and that excitement and that drive. It's just not there, and we're going through the motions, and we have to get ready to go fishing because they're telling us we have to go fishing. We don't know when our season is starting. We don't know if it's starting on May the 15th. We don't know if it's being delayed. We don't know if we're having a season, but we still have to go through all the motions of getting ready to go.
Robert McLean says, not to mention all the extra hands needed for setting and bringing in the day, lots of potential for the virus to spread. So, I mean, it's obvious.
And he's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously.
And it's very close quarters. A boat is very close quarters. I mean, you can't go away. There's nowhere where you can go to get, I can't work 2 meters away from the people that are on the boat with me. There's no, and you're in a cold, wet, damp environment. As far as they tell me to wear a mask, I can't wear a mask. I got water running over my face most of the day. It's not a feasible situation.
Yeah, Robert says no excitement, just worry. There's not the same in the air there for sure. And then can you give us any education here on exporting? Is there any details you can give us on your export out of Canada? How that's impacted or where you sit with that?
Well, right now it's basically non-existent. I mean, a big part of our product would go to casinos and cruise ships. They're not open right now. They're not, and there's no timeline of when they may. I mean, our economy is basically shut down. So I don't know how they can tell us that our product is in need, because it's not. And that's how do you fish for a product that has no market? I don't know. And they're not, unfortunately, we're all looking for answers and we're not getting any. And we're working hard. I mean, the MFU is every week, they're on calls with the government every week, but it's just, we're not getting any clear answers. And the fishermen all want answers, and they feel like they're not getting answers, but sadly, there's no answers to give because we don't know. We just simply do not know.
Now, the Maritime Fishermen's Union, I thought it was kind of important to note that the role the Maritime Fishermen's Union plays, as well as kind of a recap of the industry dollar-wise, every year, and also roughly how many fishermen are out on the water in Atlantic Canada. Do you know any of those details, Nancy, roughly?
Not off the top of my head, I don't know.
Yeah, okay. I'm just reading. Can you read any of the comments there to the side? I want to give our viewers a chance to put in some input here. I'm just going to pull up the Maritime Fishing Union here. So if you have a chance, viewers, this is Nancy, and the Maritime MFU is where she's from. The Maritime Fishermen's Union is a broad-based organization that represents over 1,200 independent inshore owner-operator fishermen. So you guys, your board would have a pulse on the data that you guys are collecting, the surveys you're collecting, the input. I can't help but see the amount of work that you're really going to, all of you, to collect this information. Josephine or Sheila Briand. Let's see what Sheila has to say here from. You go fishing, but if the whales come in too close, the fishery is shut down. To save the whales, why is our lives and our community lives as important as the whales? Now, again, Ripple Effects takes, obviously we're a media source, so we don't take opinions on screen, but it's good for everyone to see what the input is here. Josephine Kennedy says, we're put in a catch-22 situation, COVID-19 and no markets. We have 2 months to fish. The world is shut down for markets. The oil sector is getting support. We're classed as essential. We handle 42-inch traps. How are we going to save distance from the crew? Markets in the U.S. is down to 10%. Zilch to Asia. Milk farmers are dumping product, and yet they class lobster as essential. Brenda, safety, unstable markets, and price. It's the perfect storm being set up to fail before. And Nancy, we knew that you wouldn't want to get into any personal opinions, and that's not what we're looking for. I'm just kind of trying to show a wide array of the comments coming in.
And what everybody is saying is bang on. It's exactly what the issues and the problems are.
Yeah. Cyril says we social distancing now for weeks and throw that aside to go fish while the minister takes at sea, observes out inshore offshore fisheries. What is the buyer's position on the situation right now? Dennis Borden. I don't know. We talked about that just prior to coming on. Do we have an answer? Do we have any information on that, Nancy? And if not, no worries. What Dennis Borden says, what is the buyer's position on the situation right now?
I don't. I've not been privy to anything that has gone on with the buyers.
Okay.
I would assume that they're not going to be buying much, but that's just my own assumption.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's going to be at a very high price.
Jonathan Dumpy want us to fish for nothing and risk bringing a deadly virus home to our families. So, this is helpful for anybody watching to understand the complex situation that you're in, along with so many other industries. But right now, speaking specifically about the lobster industry in East Coast Canada, for those viewers that are just joining on board, lost the sound. David, Buchanan, if you're starting at the beginning of the show, that's probably why you have no sound for about a minute and a half. So I'm hoping someone can text him and tell him to move it forward just a little bit so that he can catch the sound when Nancy comes on. But yeah, so that's the general consensus, I guess, Nancy, is this is what the concerns are. And Monday night you're going to be on again at 7:30. We felt this was important because we noticed that media is finally starting to pick up on this story, and we wanted to get. This is a people's platform, so we wanted to get that voice out as well before there was any different, stories. I can't see it possible to process this product without spreading it through our communities. Okay, so let's talk about that. Lobster fishing, I mean, it's a family in itself. It's a tight family no matter what zone you are in, but it's also a community. It's a very built community industry. So that's a good point. I mean, it's not just the fishermen that are at risk here. It's small communities. I live in the fishing village of Little Ants, Petit de Gras, Arichat. I mean, it's not just about where it gets shipped to. It's about our communities as well. So is there anything else out there, viewers, that you'd like to get out while you're watching this show with Nancy, so that if she doesn't have any answers now, she can look to address it with her board tomorrow, 7:30, if they're going to address it? Please feel free to put that in the comments. I have had a chance to speak with our local MP, Mike Callaway, and I know that he has admitted outright he doesn't have any answers as of yet. He's saying the traps, be ready down at the docks, get your traps ready. Minister has said fishing is still going ahead. But one thing I have noticed with Mike is that he's daily, he's in the grind, and anything he hears, plus I know he's meeting with a lot of the unions and association behind scene as well, gathering information. So that's going to be good to have you guys on tomorrow to address concerns. Brent Perry, this is an interesting comment. Let's see what Brent says. being scolded and told to call and inform on people who aren't following safety guidelines. And it's being said that it's good for all of Canada. Then they're willing to risk a major percent of the maritime population, from the fishers to the plant crews to the families and sitters, for every one of these workers, by telling them to work with no way to follow the rules. Yeah, so some inconsistencies. I guess what Brent is pointing out to is what he feels. Terry Butts, there's been conference calls going on between association and 9 buyers with no fishermen, and we are getting absolutely no information back from the association. Okay. Hi, Nancy Penny, just giving everyone a shout out. Hello, Nancy Penny McKinnon. Sound is good, back on. Well, we're going to let this run, guys, for about 2 more minutes. It was a 30-minute broadcast, and mainly just to get the feedback out there so that it can be shared and bring some voice to the concerns. So if you want to put anything in the comments, please feel free to do so. For those of you that are just joining on, this is Rebecca from Ripple Effects Canada and Nancy Wadden from MFU. And we are in East Coast Canada talking about the concerns that the lobster fishermen have at this point with COVID-19. And they're kind of feeling that they're at a catch-22 right now. If they go ahead, they're risking their safety with family, communities, anyone that comes in contact with the product along the way. And if so, they're in a catch-22 to stop before they lose a lot of money, or to go forward with a lot of risks at hand. So that's what they wanted to get out there, the concerns. Buyers, John Wilcox. Buyers will not and cannot force fishermen to fish. They will have the final say to go fishing. Cyril Dix. Provincial government telling us to stay home. Let's open the floodgates to COVID spread. Ryan McIntyre. Why don't fishermen, which are small business, qualify for any of the wage subsidies or help from the government, for that matter? Josephine Kennedy, Plan A, and I know you can't get into this, Nancy. Plan A and Plan B required. Plan A to fish, but Plan B needed in case that's not possible. I don't feel that buyers will. Yeah.
I agree with that. We do. We need to know that if we do go fishing, well, if the bottom falls out of it and there's no way we can fish because nobody's buying anything, because nothing is moving, which is of no fault of anybody's except for the situation that we find ourselves in, then what happens then? What assurances is the government going to give us to tell us what they will put in place for us? We need to know.
Yeah. So we got about 60 seconds left here, you guys. You're also more than welcome to put in comments even after we close the broadcast. Definitely put your questions in there, because the more it gets shared, there's a good chance, obviously more eyes that see it, even better. In closing, Nancy, is there anything you want to say? Even if you feel like you're repeating yourself, don't worry, because we have a lot of new viewers that joined halfway through the broadcast and also near the end. So is there any recap of the information we just did that you'd like to get out there?
I would just like to say that we know that each and every LFA is unique in its own way, that, you know, it all has different needs, but we all ultimately we're moving towards the same goal. And safety for the MFU, and I'm sure all associations, safety is our number one concern. Our health and safety is our number one concern. And I feel by us going fishing that they're going to put an influx of people jammed together, and there's going to be a bad outcome from it.
Mm-hmm. Got a couple comments in here. I just noticed a lot of people saying thank you, Nancy, for doing this, coming on. Cyril Dix, great job, Nancy. Josephine Kennedy. Michelle McDonald, interesting comment. While I'm going through these, from a financial point, if the price is low, it will cripple the fishery for the next 10 years. Can you talk about that? Because we talked about that before we came on. And even myself, I clued into that, that if you can buy lobster at such a low price right now, is it ever going to set you guys back a bit? That was my understanding, correct?
You know, we've had ups and downs over the years. It's not that many years ago that our price was really low and it came back up.
Yeah.
a low price is not good. It's not good for anybody. But unfortunately, the price is not always going to be high.
Right.
The bottom line, what can you go fish for? What is your bottom line of price per pound that you can go fish for? And that's the question that each fisherman has to ask, or fisher, I should say, because we're not all men anymore, but which each individual harvester has to ask themselves, what can I fish for?
Right.
And that might be a different number for everybody, because there's people that are established and there's people that have just spent that hundreds of thousands of dollars to get into this industry. So they would have a lot more overhead than somebody that doesn't have a big payment for their rig.
Tracy Jardine, government should be corresponding with the fishermen more. And that was an interesting to hear Mike. Last Monday, he was on our show. He comes on Mondays to give us an update. And he was saying that daily things are changing. So that's interesting, Tracy. I can see where you're coming from, and yet, things are changing daily, my understanding. Terry Butts, 2 processing plants already shut down in Quebec. And that I did see this morning in scanning the information, that there was 2 shut down.
Yes, and a boat had workers with COVID on it. So, it happens, and it's out there, and it's scary. And there's a lot of what ifs and unknowns that we should know. We should be getting the answers, and we're not getting them. And I realize everyone's frustration. I'm just as frustrated as everyone else. I feel like I'm banging my head against the wall some days, but I don't have any answers for anybody yet. I hope we will, but we just don't have them yet.
Yeah. So Monday night, you guys, like I said, things change daily. We're coming on Monday night at 7:30. Nancy's coming on. So if you have any questions that you want to bring to the table, here's the opportunity. Please feel free to do so. And then at 8 o'clock, local MP Mike Calloway comes on, and he'll be addressing some comments to the fishing industry, but also the frontline workers. So it's going to be an interesting evening Monday night. Definitely tune in. For that matter, we even have seen some local artists coming on right after that. So we feature and highlight local musicians on Cape Breton Island in Atlantic Canada. So if there's anything else you guys want to get out there, Ryan, I can see your comment. I think we've covered everything. I'm looking at my notes. And I want to thank you very much, Nancy, for coming on with us, and also to Ruth Innes of MFU for taking my phone call so early Saturday morning and for helping facilitate this live discussion. Thank you, viewers, very much for coming on. I can see we have 184 viewers. If you can start a watch party, simply get a voice to this, get it out there. That's what we're looking to do. Dennis Pike, maybe it should be delayed until we get some rock solid answers. It's the general consensus is what I'm seeing in all the comments. Start a watch party, share it in your groups. The more engagement, the better. Thank you again, Nancy, for coming on board. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
This is Rebecca from Ripple Effects Canada, and this broadcast is officially over, guys. Thank you very much for watching.